Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So in an interesting turn of events, both PlayStation and Xbox joined forces to include a day one launch title for their respected subscription services. This is actually a little bit of a surprise. This is the first time this has ever happened, but the results will definitely be interesting to follow. You have to wonder if maybe this is a sign to come in the future. Also, PlayStation has a new console peripheral on the horizon, and it leaked a little bit early, and when I say leaked, I mean video footage and everything. What I'll say about this device is that it continues to look intriguing. There is one interesting aspect here, and I will explain why here in just a bit. Before we start, though, make sure to do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, and ring that bell. But without a further ado, let's just get right into it, starting off with From Software's next game, Armored Core 6. This game is set to release next month on August 25th, and the closer that date nears, the better Armored Core 6 looks. Early previews started to go out today, and from all the impressions that I've seen thus far, I am sold on this game. The previews seem to be glowing about its scale, its boss battles, the vast customization, its verticality, and just so on and so forth. They even noted that its single-player campaign is about 50 to 60 hours long. You're going to be plenty busy with Armored Core 6. And for the first time ever in a FromSoft game, it will include 120 frames support on PC. For as good as their games tend to be, which are very, very good, FromSoft often gets knocked for their technical expertise or lack thereof. So it is nice to see them go the extra mile here to get that 120 FPS on PC. So from everything that we're hearing, Armored Core 6 looks and sounds great, like you would expect from a FromSoft game. I mean, there's just some studios that gets it. They know how to make good games, and FromSoft is on that prestigious list. Though that is one of the things that makes this release just so interesting. This is the first time in a long while that FromSoft is working on a new AAA game that isn't in the Soulsborne genre. So this is really an opportunity for them to showcase that they can do just so much more, and so far it really seems like they've done that. If you do want to check out the previews though, definitely do so. I'd highly recommend it. Again, it is looking just so good. Vadi Vidya did a fantastic job with his previews, so I'll just go ahead and drop a link below, so definitely go check that out. Now, unfortunately, though, we do have a canceled game to talk about today because Ubisoft is at it once again, this time canceling their planned sequel for Immortals Fenyx Rising. And this is really disappointing. I actually did like the first game, and I thought it had a promising future. I mean, it was just 1 year ago that Ubisoft reportedly had aspirations to turn Immortals into a popular franchise where they would explore different mythologies. But those plans have now been halted according to the Video Game Chronicle. According to them, multiple development sources confirmed the planned sequel's cancellation in favor of focusing on Ubisoft's most prominent brands, games like Assassin's Creed, as an example. I mean, if you look at it, they've really doubled down on the Assassin's Creed IP. This is a safe bet for them, but I mean, you can also see how that focus also stomps out on new ideas, such as Immortals. Apparently, leadership viewed establishing the Immortals IP as challenging, and, that kind of brings up the long question of new IP versus existing IP. There is a view that some publishers don't take enough risks on new IP. They lack creativity, and some fans grow tired of seeing the same franchises over and over again. But that is something that these big publishers have kind of learned over the years. IP is king. And if they have a popular franchise on their hands, prioritizing that over, let's say, a new IP is less risky, and it garners more immediate excitement. It's still sad to see something like this, though, and I hate to see Immortals Fenyx Rising go down like this. I mean, you all have heard me kind of praise this game in the past. I really did enjoy that first game, and I thought it had a promising future, but, well, I guess that's that. Now, speaking of new IP, though, of course, we do always have independent games to look forward to, and one of the most anticipated indie releases this year is Sea of Stars. This is a Chrono Trigger-inspired RPG set to release next month on August 29th. It looks absolutely stunning. I mean, just look at this. I love the artwork here, and it's coming from the same studio that worked on The Messenger, Sabotage Studio. That was a great game. Definitely go check that out. So the recipe is there for Sea of Stars. Now we just kind of need to see about the execution, but that's kind of the thing. I want to talk about. Sea of Stars is now a game that will be immediately available to 30 plus million people day one. Now, that's a rough guess to the actual numbers, but what's happening here is that Sea of Stars is now coming to both Xbox Game Pass as well as PlayStation Plus Extra day one. This is actually the first time that this has ever happened. According to Sony and the FTC Activision case, Xbox Game Pass allegedly has an exclusive clause where their day one games can't come over to another subscription service. But this proves that might not always be the case, or maybe they just don't have that in their contracts anymore. But you can see fans will have ample opportunity to play this game. And that's where things get real interesting. One thing that I've talked about with Game Pass in the past is the perk of raising word of mouth. Those day one releases garner a lot of buzz online, especially when they end up being good. High on Life is a perfect example of that. Despite its poor critical reception, fans could not disagree with that more. Fans absolutely raved about how good that game was and is today, and it ended up being a massive success on both Xbox as well as PC. So with the combination of something like Xbox Game Pass and here PlayStation Plus Extra, theoretically, there's going to be a big opportunity for Sabotage Studio. Their reach is really going to expand. Now, you might come out here and say, well, that takes away from a lot of potential sales, which, okay, yeah, that is true. But I think some people look a little too into that at times. This is pretty much the same idea as paying for a third-party exclusive to keep their game off an opposing platform. Sony and Microsoft in this case are paying Sabotage Studios a lump sum to include their games into their services that will make up for some of those lost sales. However, when it comes to subscriptions, there are other perks that could push success externally from just those subs. You know, of course, Sea of Stars will still release on other platforms like the Nintendo Switch and Steam. So with that word of mouth, it could help them push more units to more people who aren't subscribed, which, you know, actually includes Xbox and PlayStation. Again, though, I think this really is just such an interesting strategy that we haven't seen before. Sabotage Games opted in for 2 immediate payouts for Sea of Stars. They had to make that choice, but they thought it was the right thing for them. Now, I am curious as to how much they got paid, because if it's big enough, I wonder if more studios will try to do this in the future and kind of double dip on these subscriptions. I mean, I guess we'll see, but for the time being, I really just hope that Sea of Stars is as good as it looks. This game, I mean, really could be truly special if it plays as good as it looks. I know us Chrono Trigger fans out there are definitely hoping it will live up to the hype. Let's go and talk about PlayStation, though, and their new PlayStation 5 handheld, the Project Q. This really is such a strange device to the point that when it first leaked, people just couldn't believe that this thing was real. Like, why would Sony put the time into a dedicated remote play handheld? I mean, there's been a lot of hope for years that they would come back to handheld gaming, but I don't know if fans were necessarily asking for this. Phones can already do a PlayStation remote play, and, you know, they also have their own controller for phones, but, you know, Sony, they did confirm that this device is, in fact, real. It is happening. So, yeah, there's some questions, I'd say legitimate questions for the Project Q. I'd say that there's an upward climb to really sell this device. Well, over the weekend, a video showing it in action surfaced online, giving us our best look yet. Now, I can't show you that video. Sony might not take too kindly to that, but based on the details shared online, it will support an 8-inch 1080p 60Hz screen, and it runs on a Qualcomm chip. Here's the thing, though, based on the footage revealed. Assuming that this is real, the Project Q is basically an Android tablet slapped between a DualSense controller. It appears to be running on some kind of Android operating system, which kind of took me by surprise. I don't know why, but I just wasn't expecting that. I assumed that they were positioning the Project Q to be more like the Wii U tablet. You just kind of turn it on and it connects to your PS5. Based on the leaked footage, though, this really is just an Android tablet slapped onto a DualSense controller, as it very much looks. Now, to be fair, you'll have those DualSense features, and because it's constantly attached to the tablet, you'll have a dedicated handheld device as opposed to the clunky design of a phone and carrying that extra controller around. More so, something that fans quickly started to realize is that, hey, if this really does in fact run on an Android operating system, theoretically, that would mean that you can also maybe add a PSP emulator. So, okay, I mean, that sounds kind of cool, actually. The revival of the PSP with the Project Q, even if Sony didn't actually intend on that happening. It is important to keep in mind, though, that this is leaked footage of a device that we've really not seen much of officially. So things could still be different when it fully releases. Supposedly it is planned to launch later this year, but I guess that's where the most important question comes in. What's the price tag? So far, the Project Q seems to be confusing people on why it exists in the first place, but I think that there will be a niche market for this device. It just all kind of depends on the price. Now, in an ideal world, I think $200 or less would probably be about right for a device like this, but I wonder if they'd actually go over that price. I've seen a lot of predictions for $250 or maybe even $300. That seems steep, and for that price, they'll really have to prove that its remote play option is a significant improvement over what fans already have available to them. Let me know, though. What do you all think about the Project Q? Are you interested in what has been shown thus far or not? Speaking of weird controllers, though, Xbox joined in on the fun as well because they just announced a new pizza-scented controller, and yes, you heard that right, a pizza-scented controller. The first of its kind, actually. So this is their new special-themed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle controllers that pairs off with the upcoming movie. Now, I think that the controllers are actually really cool looking. They have this green ooze design to them, and there's a theme for each of the individual turtles, but the strange part here is that pizza scent. Now, the controllers themselves are not scented, but rather it's actually a pizza insert that you can attach to your controller. They're apparently scent diffusers. I don't even know why you'd want to attach this item to your controller, but to be fair, I think that this will be a collector's item for most people and nothing more. I mean, I guess you could technically play with it. That's perfectly fine as well. And if you want that smell, you can, I guess, go ahead and attach the scent diffuser. But I imagine a lot of people would just prefer to display an item like this. It is a special limited item after all, and more than likely they will be extremely rare. Now, the reason for that is because you can't purchase them outright. Rather, you have to win them in an Xbox giveaway by re-xeeting their official xeet. Man, that's going to be tough to get used to saying. But nonetheless, this will run from July 25th to August 13th. So you better enter sooner rather than later if you want a chance to win any of these special themed controllers. Now, if you want a non-scented controller, though, and one that you can actually purchase, well, according to Bilbo Kuhn, a very accurate leaker, well, Microsoft has another controller titled Stormcloud Vapor in the works that will release on October 8th. Now, he mentioned that this date could change, but considering its October 8th release, it's speculated to be a new Forza-themed controller. Forza will release just 2 days later on October 10th, so that does make a lot of sense. So if you are a Forza fan, you might want to go ahead and keep an eye out for this new controller, which supposedly will release on October 8th for $70. Let's go ahead and take a look at the poll of the day, though. And going back to Armored Core once again, I asked you all, have you played the Armored Core series before? And as I suspected, most people have not. Only 19% of you said yes, whereas 79% of you said no. This has been a niche franchise over the years, and even for somebody like myself, I've never really gotten into the Armored Core series before. But again, that there is the thing. With From Software gaining just so much popularity with their Soulsborne games, especially when it comes to Elden Ring, Armored Core 6 in return is receiving a lot more attention this time around. So this is an opportunity for them to bring over that audience to grow another one of their franchises from a completely different genre. And based on the gameplay they've shown thus far, they're doing a stand-up job in doing just that. It really looks good. And I think what will happen here is that Armored Core 6 will be the fastest-selling Armored Core in franchise history. I think that there will be early reports about that in just its first month as sales start to come out. I mean, I guess we'll see. But I'll say this right now. Armored Core 6 is quickly becoming one of my most anticipated games. I'm genuinely excited for a completely new FromSoft experience. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.